interventions in classrooms. And if you want to research this further, this is hugely interesting work. I was lucky enough to attend a conference that he delivered here in Leeds actually, before Christmas, which is where I got my inspiration to actually do this research project like this. I already had the inspiration to use flipped learning, but he gave me the research and the sort of how to evidence and impact it. What you'll find there is a lot of numbers next to a lot of interventions. Now he has done about 150 interventions, but this is just a collection of them. And what you find is he has done if any maths geeks in here, it's about standard deviation, an average spread and all that sort of stuff, which you can look into yourself. As I said, I'm a PE teacher, I'm not going to go too much into that. What he says though is interesting, is that we shouldn't compare to zero. Zero is doing nothing. So when we're looking at the interventions and we're saying, oh well, class size is 0.21, that has a significant effect. It doesn't. The average of all interventions is 0.4, which is where that dotted line is. So what Jon Tait says, Professor Jon Tait says that we should be paying attention to the things above 0.4, we should be spending serious energy and time on. The things below 0.4, we should seriously consider how much time we're spending on them. Now class size is an interesting one. When you go around teachers and you say, does class size, or would a reduction in your students in your class have an impact on learning and teaching, generally most people say, yeah, definitely. What the research says is it doesn't. Because what happens is this, if we go from 30 students to 25, do you teach any different? No, probably not. Alright? The workload, someone said marketing, I think, the workload clearly is an issue. However, is the workload having a direct impact on the learning? And the research says probably not. It's having an impact on your energy and everything else, yes.
It's having an impact on your energy to lesson plan.
It is, yes. But in terms of the delivery and the learning those students getting that lesson there and then your delivery, the research says that, and this is over thousands of researchers, that actually what happens is it doesn't make much difference if you go from 30 to 28 to 25. And what actually happens, when you go really low, we talk more. When we go down to 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, we dominate more and we talk more. So actually, and again, this is the research, it says that it doesn't have as much impact compared to 0.4. So
I think it's interesting because, like you said, that staff would immediately say it's class size, but I think what we've found, we've lowered our Year 11 class sizes, and the impact it's had has allowed us to do the formative teacher evaluation better.
Yeah, so it kind of links. Yeah. So if you think about that and think about where those things are, the effect sizes on that graph there. If I go back now, and you now look at the bottom, right at the bottom in yellow, the class effect size was 0.86 for people who can't see. So 0.86, if I just fly forward again, look where it ranks. I know it's only one class, but that's all the information I've got in terms of the evidence to give you. So it had a significant impact. And when we look at the individual impacts on the far right hand column, we're into 1 point something, there's someone there 2.16, student 15, 2.16. It had a major impact. So that's the data, and that's the kind of research behind it, which is there. The qualitative feedback I got was kids saying, we feel ahead of the game, sir. We feel like we're learning a lot more. We feel like we can do more in the class, which I never thought I'd hear any student say to me, ever. We can do more, sir. We get a chance to write more. Wow. They genuinely felt it was helping them. Really genuinely felt that. Right, the problems, because I don't want this to just be, this is all great. The problem, so, what happens when a kid doesn't watch the video? Well, initially, that plenary gives them an idea of where we're at. So it fires some ideas around. They can pick up initially what it is. But more than that, what I did is I created an environment in my classroom that kids didn't want to feel left out. Because what happened was that the students that watched the video did what I call the nice tasks, so the group work, or the extended piece of writing about something really interesting, or they got up and they did some speed dating, or whatever, all that sort of stuff. The kids that hadn't watched the video, and I knew that straight away, because it was the kind of likely lads, and the ones you knew, you just fire a couple of questions at them, and they're like that. I can't remember, I watched it so long ago, sir. Well, and then they ended up actually just owning up at the start of the lesson and saying, no, I haven't watched it, because they didn't want to be embarrassed, and they didn't want that question fired at them. So they were quite open in the end and said, I haven't had time, or whatever it was. That's fine. So what they did, they then either watched the lesson on their phone there and then, to start with, and then caught up with the group, or I got them to then use the textbook and start to copy out their notes on the topic that they would have done. So they felt left behind, they felt behind, they didn't like that. Everyone else was motoring on and doing all the wonderful stuff, and they're there doing what everyone else should have, what everyone else did, in the week. So I created that environment. One thing to stay away from is that punitive sort of punishment of, right, you 5 are on detention, because it doesn't work with those kids. Those kids haven't watched it because they don't really care. So give them a detention, they don't really care, and they probably won't turn up. And you're probably not running that detention, so actually there's no closure. They just end up going, oh, well, whatever, I haven't watched the last 3, I don't care.
So what about the other kids though that do watch it? They watch it every time, but what happens, the others who don't watch it?
Well, the others who
I know
don't...
the reward is, they learn more.
Yeah,
but
I think it's creating that environment that the kids understand, and there's that intrinsic motivation that, yeah, we're doing this and it's great. And actually the ones that don't watch it, they still end up getting the content, but they're just slightly behind the class, because they either do it there and then at the start of the lesson, or they copy the notes out and they join people later. So actually the people that have done it feel even better about it, because they think, oh great, and the other ones are missing out. You might have a problem with sort of data, and I don't know what, I've not had this issue. I know people have said to me, well, what about the kids that have got like specific data contracts on their phones, or they haven't got the internet at home, and I've not encountered that issue. However, there are a lot of ways around this. You'll all have probably opportunities in your school to give people access to computers in homework clubs, lunchtime, before school, after school, that sort of stuff. So there's always computers available for students. If it's a total barrier, again, they don't have to do the video, but you can probably find an article that's very similar to the content that you've done in the video. Again, there's lots of ways around it. Rather than putting barriers in the way of it, how can we think about solutions to those problems and move past that? Especially if you buy into the fact that I know this will significantly enhance my delivery in the classroom, because I can take my students 20% further than I would ever be at home. And the easy part they can do at home, the hard part they do with me, the skilled teacher. If you've got that mindset, then those problems just become, little issues that you actually work around. Right, the future then, before I open for questions. The future is, well, potentially I think this is the future. I think this is where we may be going with digital technology and schools, and there's a lot more people actually using flipped learning now. I'm going to do all my CPD this year as a leader of teaching learning as flipped learning. So if I do a questioning course for my staff at school, I will do a 10-minute video on questioning, so that actually all those, the ABC of questioning, add, build, contest, pause, bounce, pause, all that sort of stuff, I'll do all that in the video. They'll watch it, they'll come in with all those ideas, thinking, how can I use this in my classroom? And it'll be more of a discussion base in the CPD rather than a chalk and talk. And I'm also, just so you know, I'm banning the word CPD in my school, because it has too many negative connotations of being done to people rather than feeling part of it. And this whole idea of using